It was through digging into the Bible and just like finding out what the Lord has to say about partner development that began to bring freedom to my heart. And then as I taught people, I watched their hearts get free. Because if your heart gets free, getting funded is a lot easier.
Welcome to the Field Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bob McNabb, and with me today is my co-host, Scott Lundy, who lives and leads from the Middle East, and a special guest, Chris Guzzardo, who serves in Africa. I'm excited to have Chris on today because we're going to talk about leading our staff in fundraising. And that may seem like something like, oh, okay, we got to swallow that pill. But Chris, I think you're going to see this. Chris really approaches this in a way that is refreshing, that digs down to some root issues of the heart. And so I'm excited to unpack that with him today. But Chris, welcome. I would love for you to give us just a little thumbnail of what has your experience in leading others and training them how to have a healthy support team look like over the last decade?
When my organization's leader asked me to be in charge of partner development, I was like, no, thank you. Like, this sounds awful. Because at the time, I saw partner development not as a joy, but as a job. It was a necessary evil that I had to push through to get to do what God called me to do. And hopefully most of y'all can relate to that
for sure
as leaders. But it was through digging into the Bible and just like finding out what the Lord has to say about partner development that began to bring freedom to my heart. And then as I taught people, I watched their hearts get free. And when their hearts got free, it was so much easier to get funded, which is why I've recorded a course called Free to Be Funded. Because if your heart gets free, getting funded is a lot easier. And so it's been a journey for my own heart with the Lord, and it's been a journey of leading others into that. And partner development went from being a job to being a joy once I discovered some of the truths in the Word. And I mean, I remember calling some partners and be like, did you know that when you give to me, it's like you're with me on the field?
Yeah.
And they're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, that's what Paul says with some of the Greek words. So anyway, it's been exciting for me, and it's exciting for me to help others not see partner development as this like God awful thing I gotta do, to something that's actually enjoyable.
That's awesome. I think there are a lot of good materials out there about fundraising. So we don't want to rehash that. And of course, there's the course that you've put together that people that are listening, if they're interested, they could jump into that. But let's spend our time trying to help leaders think through and understand how can they better lead their staff on the field. What should the role of the field leader be in helping staff stay fully funded, and why is that so crucial?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is just setting a good example, right? As leaders, whatever we do, good or bad, people are going to follow, right? And it's almost like what you say with parenting. There's so much more that your kids catch than you actually teach them. And so I'm not saying the people, our staff, or our children, but I am saying that if we get our own hearts free related to raising funds and we don't see it as a drudge, it's going to help our staff live free. But if we're like, oh man, I got to spend another 2 hours calling partners, your staff pick up on that. They pick up on that energy. So I think one is setting a good example. Two is casting vision for what you're doing related, what you specifically are doing for support raising, and what your people are doing. Like you're inviting people to give to the Great Commission. And that's a joy. You're inviting more people into the Great Commission, because some people are called to go, some people are called to send, some people are called to pray. So envisioning, and then lastly, empowering people. We'll talk about this later in the podcast, I'm sure, but giving your staff the time to do partner development as part of the ministry that frees them up because, okay, my leader says I need to do this. I'm allowed to do this. This is not anti-ministry. This is actually helping the ministry. I think all those things are important for leaders as we lead people in partner development.
Yeah, that's good.
Chris, I have a question as you mentioned this. To help us as leaders, what do you feel like when you think about partner development, how much of it is really matters of the heart? Like that's part of the problem? Or is it, oh, their heart's fine, but they don't know how to do an ask? Like I know several people, they'll do a presentation, but they get to the end, they never say, oh, by the way, I need money. So it's just some practicals or making phone calls and all that. So how much would you say is heart versus the practicals of the fundamentals of raising support?
Sure. I think the biggest thing is addressing what's going on in somebody's heart before you teach them the practicals. Because if you teach somebody the practicals, but they're bound by fear, they're going to do a fear-driven ask. Hey, will you maybe kind of give some money to what God's doing in the Middle East? You know how many people want to partner with that person? Nobody, right? So skills are important, but more important than the skills or working on the skills is how do you feel about partner development? You can ask that to your staff. How do you feel about support raising? I don't like the word support raising. I don't like the word fundraising or donors. I use partner development because you're developing partners in the gospel. And the way I define partnership in my course is partnership is two separate but equal parties with separate but equal responsibilities going after a common goal. So if your partners have a separate but equal responsibility, and you do, if you both play your part in God's larger story, the gospel goes forth with energy, with courage, with power. And so I think getting the matters of the heart dealt with first is super important. And as a leader, it's being curious, okay, this person's not making their calls. Why are they not making their calls? They can say it's because they're not good on the phone, but be curious. What's the real reason behind it? So don't take the surface answer and ask a few more questions. So what's underneath that? You say you're not good on the phone, but what are you afraid of? Oh, you're afraid of being rejected. Well, first off, I can relate to being afraid of being rejected because we all feel that. And then ask another question like, what if you were rejected? How would that impact you? Well, I'd be devastated. And just asking a few more questions so that you get to the root issue, like Bob said in the beginning. And then if you deal with the root issue, the fruit's going to grow way better.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned the idea of helping people work through some of that heart stuff before they jump into doing the practicals. But, when you're on the field, evil still comes hunting again. It's not a one and done. It keeps happening.
Yes.
And so what are some of the ways that you see continuing to happen while people are on the field?
Great question. So when we moved to East Africa, our first year on the field, my wife and I just started to notice these two main lies that evil was hunting us with. And we started to be vulnerable with each other. And the two main lies were, we're not doing enough and we're not having enough impact. And then one time we brought it into our team meeting. We were meeting with our team and said, guys, I just was vulnerable with them. This is how I feel like evil's hunting my wife and I. We were comparing with other people on our team. I feel like these two guys, I feel like y'all are doing this stuff. I feel like we're not, we're just learning, The team was able to be, because they felt safe, and we were living in wholehearted community or gospel communities like you've talked about before, Bob. And in doing that, they were able to say the same thing back to us. No, man, we feel like you guys are doing this stuff. You're working with orphans and teaching the gospel. And we were able to just go, wow, evil's hunting all of us with the exact same lies. And so what are the lies that evil's hunting me as a leader with and my team? And just getting it out in the open. You can't win a battle that you can't see. So when you become aware of it, then you can begin to win that battle.
That's good. I was asking And you answered the question about what other ways does evil pursue you. But you also, in that answer, gave us a great, and I just want to point it out to our leaders who are listening, you gave us a great example of what this podcast is about. How do you lead others in support raising? And what you did in that story was you shared what you were struggling with. You were vulnerable first. And that was great leadership because it opened up and made other people feel safe to share what they're struggling with, or maybe they didn't even know and they started examining their own. Well, yeah, what am I struggling with? So I love that example because it just really illustrates what we're talking about. We need our leaders to step in, or we as leaders need to step in and share what we're struggling with. So great story. I wonder, this is maybe not in our notes at this point, so forgive me for going off script, but we've mentioned fear as one of the heart things that can be going on. What other concerns of the heart have you seen happen with people has happened in your own heart, or Scott, in your heart, as you have raised funds? What besides fear?
Great question. So the two other primary ones that come to mind instantly are shame and guilt. I think maybe we can talk about fear more later, but I think shame and guilt, I think there's shame in asking for money. People can get into shame, and people can feel guilty. Like I'm doing something wrong by asking people for money, especially in an American culture where being self-sufficient is so praised, right? And so it could be fear, but it could be shame, like I'm not good enough when people don't say yes to partnering with me. Or it could be guilt, like I'm doing something wrong. So I would say maybe those three, and we can unpack fear more, but I would say maybe those three.
Yeah, that's good.
One of my students, when they were taking the course, freely funded, I have some reflection questions in there, and they come back, and I learn from their answers sometimes. And so one of my students said, as after we went through the biblical basis, he goes, so what I'm getting as we're doing this is partner development is like 99% the second commandment. It's loving others, meaning I'm connecting with my partners. I'm just sharing what God's doing. 99% of partner development is loving other people, being in a relationship, and 1% of it is asking.
Yeah.
But we get so afraid of the 1% and we forget, like, we're just called to love the people and invite people in our lives to partner with us. And if we see it that way, there's way less fear, guilt, shame, all those things, because we're just doing the biblical mandate that God calls us to.
It's good.
So speaking of those fears, and maybe there's more, does your course help missionaries find ways to get free in their heart? Is that part of the curriculum of the Free to Be Funded course?
Yeah.
What have you found that really helps people with that?
Great question. I think the first thing is just being open and honest with God and with yourselves about what you're afraid of. I think sometimes we can over spiritualize things and go, okay, the Bible says not to be afraid. So if I'm not supposed to be afraid, I don't even need to deal with these fears. Just tell me what the Bible says. Let me go make some calls. Versus God's big enough to handle your fears. Psalm 139 says he already knows what you're thinking and what you're going to say before you say it. So if he already knows it, and the devil's trying to lie to you to keep you from having a free heart, evil hunts to steal, kill, and destroy, John 10:10 says. So we have to face our fears and go, what am I really afraid of? And that's where we start the course. First lesson is the matters of the heart. And I love Steve Shadrach in his book, or in one of his blogs, maybe. He's identified 5 fears that people have of support raising. And I want to read them out because it would be worth it as a leader or people that you're leading to go, what of these am I afraid of? 1, dread of failure. 2, rejection by family. 3, loss of friendships. 4, appearance of weakness. And 5, financial instability. Okay. And so just a good question that you can ask yourself, or those you're leading, is what am I most afraid of in partner development?
Yeah.
And so be open with yourself, and then be open with the Lord, and be open with your team. Because as you heard that list of 5, the thing I like to say about how evil hunts us is the devil doesn't have that many plays in his playbook. He's a liar. He's the father of lies, and he uses the same ones over and over again, like a good football team. You know, Alabama football, they won all those championships, and they didn't run that many plays, but they were really good at them. And the devil is good at the lies that he tells us. He's using these same 5 lies over and over again to a billion people. So you're not alone, and then being open about it. And then the second thing we do in the course, and that whether you take the course or not, is dig into the Bible, get biblical confidence. And the way I say it is there's no confidence like biblical confidence. When you know from the Bible that God has a plan for funding missionaries, and he's been doing it for thousands of years, and you're just another one of those missionaries playing a part in his larger story, it's way easier to invite people to partner with.
Yeah. And I love the little leadership thing that I just heard of taking these 5 things, maybe bringing them before your team, or maybe it's a one-on-one, laying it before an individual you're leading, and just asking us a question, hey, I struggle with some of these. Here's what I struggle with. What about you? What do you struggle with? And that's leadership. That's leadership, and it's getting to the heart. So I love that. I wonder about those who have been on the field for a while. Okay, so they're not new at fundraising. Maybe they've been at this for a number of years now. They're out on the field. What kinds of discouragement, fatigue, shame do you see them struggling with? Is it any different than those who are just beginning?
So I would say, Bob, that I don't think it's necessarily just raising support that brings up those emotions that you said. I think it's specifically when you're underfunded that those things start to come up. Does that make sense? If you've been underfunded for a long time and on the field, I have a whole thing, 10 things that happen if you've lived underfunded for too long. If you constantly live underfunded, 1, you'll start questioning yourself. You'll start questioning God. You'll start questioning your calling. You'll start to accuse the agency you're working with. You can become delusional to the whole missions aspect. So when you're in lack over a long time, it leads to heartache, disillusionment, disappointment, bitterness, all those things. Whereas there's 10 benefits if you actually get fully funded. I don't think it's about doing it for a long time as much as it is what's happening inside as you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing this for 17 years. I'm not saying I don't get scared when I invite people to partner with me, but it's more a joy than necessary evil now.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a huge momentum, it goes one way or the other with whether you're fully funded or not fully funded. And so I don't know that we have kind of this later in one of our questions, but if you're leading somebody and their support is dipped down into the underfunded, does that ring alarm bells? Like you got to jump on this immediately, or could you take your time? How do you deal with that when you're leading somebody who's now reached into the underfunded category?
Well, it's not one size fits all. It's nuanced. It's about percentages, right? If they're 10% underfunded, that's one thing.
Right.
If they're 50% underfunded, that's a whole nother ballgame. Okay. And so the urgency is about where they're at in that sliding scale.
Right.
Like if they lose $100 a month partner, not the end of the world. They should work toward getting another $100 a month partner. If they lose $1,000 a month partner, now you got to change your tactics. You can ask another follow-up question, but it kind of depends.
Right.
Because if it's 50%, they probably need to stop what they're doing and go and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
For sure, that's a good answer because is it a little cut that needs a Band-Aid or does it need stitches? Are they hemorrhaging?
Or do you need surgery?
Surgery to stop this thing.
Yeah.
And how much do they have? And you have to look at all the data points. How much money do they have in their account? Do they have $50,000 or do they have $3,000? So, but I think either way, if once you dip under to the I'm losing money every month, it does impact your heart, and so I think that's just important. Even if there's a long runway, and you're like, okay, this person has enough. It's not that big, but I think it's good for what you said is that the momentum has started in the wrong direction, and I think for us as leaders to know that and not treat it as trivial is a good one.
Yeah, that's a good job drawing that out. That's great.
Chris, I'm curious, you're talking about, at different levels, if 10% or whatever, you said, if you're underfunded for a long period of time, that can definitely be discouraging. But are there passages that give people the most courage when it comes to ministry partner development that you found or, really resonate with people that can motivate them or encourage them if they're down?
Yeah. So, there's so many verses and there's over 50 passages about partner development in the Bible, and different ones resonate with different people, but I'm gonna highlight maybe one or two. So, and I'm gonna highlight this because this isn't taught in most partner development courses. So Moses, when he's building the temple, he gathers all of Israel. So let's just say millions of people, or a ton of people. And I'm in Exodus 35, verse 4. And Moses spoke to all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing which the Lord commanded, saying, take from among you an offering for the Lord. Whoever is of a willing heart, let him bring an offering to the Lord, gold, silver, bronze, et cetera, right? So then fast forward to verse 20 and 21. And all the congregation of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. Then everyone came whose heart was stirred, and everyone whose spirit was willing, and they brought the Lord's offering for the work of the tabernacle of meeting. Verse 22, they came, both men and women, as many as had a willing heart. Okay. So what stands out to me, not everybody's heart was stirred to give.
Yep.
And if not everybody's heart was stirred to give in the Bible for building the tabernacle, not everybody's heart that you invite to partner with you or that your people invite to partner with you is going to get stirred. Which means the pressure's off, right? Your job is to share and invite. God's job is to stir the hearts. And if you stir the heart, you're in manipulation. Right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's God's job. Your part is to share and invite. God's job is to stir the hearts. So if their heart is stirred, great, they give. If their heart's not stirred, they don't give. This freed me up when I saw this, because I had invited somebody really close to me and they said, we don't want to give to what you're doing. And I was offended, like deeply hurt. Like it took me days to process. And then when I saw this passage, I went, oh my gosh. It was that their heart wasn't stirred. I called them up and processed it with them a little bit. Like I was a little bit offended, but your heart wasn't stirred. And they were like, yeah, that's exactly right. Our heart wasn't stirred. It was nothing personal, nothing wrong with your doing. So people are going to feel called to give to a couple ministries in their life, but they're not called to give to every ministry. So I could go on and on about different passages, but that one was for me, a big, it gave me a lot of freedom.
Yeah, no, that's good. And, we can sit here. I'm just thinking about how we can sit here and we're talking about the word and we're seeing these truths. And it's easy to have a good perspective and attitude, a heart posture right now. But I'm thinking about someone who's day in and day out, long-term, living on the field. How can we as leaders help them, through the grind of it all? of just living where they're living, dealing with all the different pressures that they face. How do we help them keep a positive perspective on partner development?
I think because, our walk with the Lord is so unique, each person, and different things stir different people's hearts. As leaders, it's finding what stirs our own hearts related to partner development, keeps us encouraged, and then asking them what keeps them encouraged, if that makes sense. So hopefully they've done some sort of biblical study in their support raising training. If they haven't, find a training that has good, biblical basis. But you could ask them, hey, when you think about, raising support or your partner team or how God funded, his work in the Bible, what keeps you most encouraged? And then it puts the onus on them.
Yeah.
And they may have something that's so different from you, right? But they may go, Ephesians 1:4, God chose me before the foundation of the world to be part of his family. And you're like, how does that connect to partner development? And then they have a whole story about it. And then now what keeps them motivated. And then you can keep bringing that up for them. Because if you have a team of 5 people or 10 people, what's going to keep them encouraged isn't the same.
Right. Good.
But what motivates them? And for some people, it's like, they're just extroverts, right? They just love talking to people. They're like, I like partner development because I get to talk to my friends. And then they give me money. Like, great. That keeps you motivated. But for the introverts, that's not going to keep them motivated. So it's finding out what stirs each staff member and then helping remind them of those things.
Well, Chris, what would you say to a leader who they notice their staff feels guilty for taking time away from their field ministry to communicate with supporters?
It's kind of what I said earlier about just asking more questions. Like, what about support raising is making you feel guilty? And it's probably something that they're believing deep down about either God, themselves, or others that's making them feel guilty. So they may be like, I just feel like God wants to see more souls saved. And if I take time to do this, then souls aren't going to be saved. And then it's like, okay, so what does that tell us about how you're viewing God? He's a little impatient and he's a taskmaster. Okay. As they say it out loud, they're going to know, like, okay, this is not biblical, but it's not shaming them when they see it. It's like, wow, that probably keeps you from, like, how do you think that might impact your support raising? And they're like, oh, wow. They're just sitting there dazed and confused. They give them a few minutes with that one, So I think that's a big thing. And then this is why we at our ministry call it the ministry of partner development, because it's actually a ministry. The same thing I said about the second commandment before. We're called to love your neighbor as ourselves. So this is part of loving them, is connecting with people in your life and updating them with what God's doing.
Yeah, that's good. And I think one of the things that tends to freeze people from doing something is it seems like there's this great big mountain. There's too much to do. I'm overwhelmed. This partner communication and all that. Could you, if you're leading somebody and you wanted to kind of lead them into breaking it down and simplifying, like, hey, just do these things and you'll have a solid foundation. What would those essentials look like? What would a little simple plan that you could lead somebody in look like?
That's a great question. And we wrestled with this at our organization. Like, what so many people say, do all this stuff, but how do we keep it simple that all our staff could do it? And this is what we came up with. We said, you should send an update letter once a month, or at least once every 2 months. Okay. And then call your partners once a year and send a postcard once a year. Now that may sound like a lot, but I've broken it down into this 1-page document that you can download. It's at freetobefunded.com/team care. And if you go there and you can download it, and it breaks it down by months. So each leader can go, okay, you're sending an update letter to these people and you're calling people on your team that have a last name that starts with A and B. Super simple, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's 5 people. I can call those 5 people this month. And when it's simple enough, it's doable. And what we did, and I don't know if every leader can do this, but what we did at our org is we tied a financial bonus to the people that did this each quarter. So if you did those things that are in the January, February, March, you got a little more money from a fund that we had set aside. Does that make sense?
Interesting. So from not even from their own support account, but
not from their own support account, from the organization that said, hey, we believe in partner development so much that it's so important that we've got a little extra money set aside. And if you do this, you get a little something, something.
Oh, that's great.
So that leads us to your 1, 2, 3 method for keeping partner development care in a clear and regular routine. Tell me about the 1, 2, 3 method that you teach in the Free to Be Funded course. What regular rhythms should a field leaders encourage their staff to maintain with their support teams?
Yeah, so kind of what I talked about with the update letters and the calls and the postcards. I was thinking to myself, like, how do you make this effortless? Greg McKeown has a book called Effortless, and he's like, how do you take the things that are essential and just make them easy? And so what I came up with is the 1, 2, 3 method, which is it's 1 day a month, it's 2 hours a week, and it's 3 weeks a year. Okay. So 1 day a month, I set aside to do my update letter. I have nothing else on my calendar. It's the 3rd Thursday of the month, and I'm going to write it, I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to send it. And when I say update letter, I do not mean MailChimp. 50% of emails do not get read, but if you will mail something in the mail, physically, keep it to 1 page, and use a colored envelope, your chances of getting that message read go up dramatically. So 1 day a month, my only agenda item is write my update letter. Okay. So that knocks out the update letter part of the yearly plan. And then 2 hours a week to make phone calls or write thank you messages. Right. And then 3 weeks a year. So we've got 1 day a month, 2 hours a week, 3 weeks a year. That's, when you're on furlough, which is probably not once a year, you can take dedicated time to just see your partners and connect with them. But because of video calls these days, you could take different weeks of the year and block them out and go, April 21st through 28th, I'm going to take off from the ministry here. And I'm just going to schedule out a month in advance, a bunch of Zoom calls. And I'm going to do as many partner connects as I can, and you could do that 3 weeks in a row, or you could do it 1 week at a time. However you want to do it, if you can block out the time, like for me and for leaders, what gets scheduled gets done. So if you can schedule it, your chances of it getting done are a lot easier. And it's a lot easier to lead people. So, as leaders get creative, it could be, hey, we all don't work on the 3rd Thursday of the month, and we all come together and we write our update letter and we share stories and pictures and it's fun, and we order pizza if you can, or whatever. Like that would work for introverts, maybe not extroverts. I mean, extroverts, not introverts, but get creative, make it fun. So
I think doing it together, I think that helps everybody, introverts or extroverts. I mean, honestly, when you get it scheduled, you come together, that provides structure. It provides some encouragement to it. So I think that's a great idea.
And accountability.
I think that's super helpful. And after leading people in support raising for literally decades, one thing I've seen consistent is that you could lay out a plan for people like that, and then everybody's going to have their own variation of it that they're going to want to do. Nobody's going to want to do it exactly that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to give the people you're leading kind of a rule of thumb, just to free them up and say, hey, you can do your plan a little different if you want, but try to commit X percentage of your time to this, what would that look like?
What I've heard from other organizations and what I teach is 10% of your time. If you could take 10% of your time on a macro level, you're going to do a great job connecting with your partners. And you're probably not going to feel as bad about it. Like if 90% of your time is doing, work in the field and 10% of your time is communicating to your partners who are helping hold the rope and help you keep going. I think so that, that if it's 40-hour week, that's 4 hours a week, or if it's over the year. And so that's how I got the idea of 3 weeks a year is at our org, we give people 21 days off for the year for vacation. And we give 21 partner development days a year. So throughout the year, if they need to not be, doing their normal ministry routine, then that's where I take my, monthly day. Like I take the whole day off and I just count it as a partner development day.
That's helpful for people.
Yeah. Chris, how can leaders help their staff prepare before they go on furlough or home assignment, whatever you want to call it, so that they're not trying to rebuild neglected relationships at the last minute? Because we're asking for leaders, but I'm also asking for myself here because I struggle with this one.
Yeah. Okay. So this is an interesting one because it's a great question, because if you don't do it, then your partner development actually doesn't go very well. So I'm thinking, I've got my list of partners personally, and I've got, 50 people on my partner team, but I have a separate list of people that are in my life that I'm just trying to move a little bit further along the relationship continuum. And if you were to put them in like an A, B, C category, A's, your best relationships, B, not as close, C, they're distant. If you're always, moving people along that path, and one of the ways you can do it is with your update letter. You don't have to send your update letter just to partners. You can send it to, a broader sphere. So if, let's say you've been relationship building with a friend for the last year, meaning you've sent out your update letter, you've texted them a few times, then you calling them in the summer when you go back on furlough doesn't feel weird or awkward or out of the blue. You're just loving them well, right? You're just connecting. And so you have to be intentional to connect with your partners, but also the other people that are in your life, doing the second commandment, loving them well. And then if you love well, then you have a good seed bed for partnership. If you become like secluded like a monk and the people don't hear from you, it's going to be way harder.
Yeah, I'll just say, I served a number of years as a missions pastor, and the missions committee at the church would break up into different subgroups, and we let them have a lot of decision making, but I would drop in and hear the conversations that would take place in those little subgroups of the missions committee. And I'll tell you why people got dropped. This is when I first started to see it, and I saw it a lot of other ways. People would get dropped when they're like, well, we haven't heard from this person. And it was always about the fact that they hadn't heard from the person, weren't getting the communication.
Yeah.
Rarely was it something along the lines of, I don't know if I ever heard this, of, well, it doesn't seem like they're seeing a lot of fruit. Let's drop them. It was not that. It was not. It was just we hadn't heard from them. And so this keeping up with people, just communicating, even if it's like, hey, things are hard. Please pray for these things. That engages them as your partner. And it's so powerful. I think some of the workers that I'm connected with on the field, they'll do the WhatsApp prayer requests like once a week or every 2 weeks. And that frequency is so powerful and keeps us engaged. It's like blow by blow almost, but they're super short. It's not a lot of effort for them to put those out. Yeah. But it's super helpful. So I'm thinking about the person though who's struggling, the worker who's struggling, and you're the leader. how do you step in with compassion? Hey, they're struggling, but they also they maybe could benefit from some accountability or something, one type of leadership or another that helps them get it into gear. And so how would you approach a situation like that?
Yeah. I mean, I like to always lead with compassion, right? Like, I want to connect with their hearts first, because whatever's going on in their heart is going to impact everything.
Yeah.
The Proverbs 4:23, it says that your heart is the wellspring of life. The issues, flow out of that. And so I try and relate to them with compassion, and then call them higher to what has to happen. Let them feel seen, let them feel felt, sit with that staff member, and then move into action, relate to them, and then invite them. Man, I get it. I know what it's like to be afraid of calling people, and you got to make the calls, envision them calling but you still got to call them higher to do this stuff.
I'll just throw my own 2 cents. I think, at that point, then you want to break it down small enough that it seems like, okay, that's pretty easy. I can do that, rather than, hey, you haven't been communicating with your 100 people. Go call 100 people. It's like,
no, that's
we
not
need
what
to
I'm
break
saying.
that down to tell
Yes.
me, and instead of you assigning it to them, ask them, what would be a small manageable bite that you could take this week, and let them identify it.
Yes.
And
Yes, exactly.
And maybe even dial them back. If they say, well, I could call 10 people, maybe even say, well, why don't you try 8? Something that even makes it feel just like, oh, okay, that's even lighter.
Yes. So 100%.
Yeah. So Chris, for us as leaders, we oversee staff that may have rejection or silence from the people they're trying to reach, or they have disappointing responses from potential supporters or existing supporters. How can we as leaders help our staff process some of those realities that come from the Ministry of Partner Development?
Well, I think practically we could do it in a group setting where maybe every month you're sitting down with your team and just talking about the highs and the lows of partner development. Hey, what's your high from this last month? What's your low? And if you're doing it in a group and you've created a safe environment where people know they're not going to get, punished, they can be real and open and vulnerable. And then they can see that other people on the team are struggling with similar things, or the testimony of other people is going to be encouraging. So like, one person's low could be like, man, I had 10 appointments last month and I got one partner. And then somebody else could just relate to them. Like, I can relate to inviting people. And a lot of times the people I invite to partner with me don't partner. A lot of the people that I think are going to partner with me don't end up partnering with me. And the people that I think won't partner with me do. Yeah. And I've seen this for 15 years with people I teach in myself. So I think sharing together and then sharing, carrying the weight together, praying like, God, you're the one that has to stir hearts. Like, I love that prayer. Like, God, draw me to people that you want to be partnering with me and stir their hearts. Because his job's to stir the heart. Our job is just to communicate, share, invite.
Yeah.
Great.
That's good. I'm kind of thinking back about what I was just saying about how the lack of communication is really the number one reason people drop you. But there are times where someone kind of fumbles the ball in how they're communicating, and they're consistently doing something in their communication that's kind of like that's not great.
Yes.
So what are maybe some of those things that you might alert us to that leaders could help their people avoid?
I actually think all leaders should probably be getting the update letters of the people they lead.
Yeah.
Because they can catch problems before they happen. I say that because in my learning about partner development and training in it, I went to a training where they showed an example. I wish I don't have it with me because this was like way back in the day, but they showed this update letter, and guys, it couldn't have been worse. Like textbook awful. it was not 8.5 by 11. It was like a legal one, like 8.5 by 14. 4 pages, front and back, with a hand-drawn letter. And the letter started something like this. We know it's been a long time since we've written you, but after you read this whole letter, you'll understand why. And it was like, there's no way I'm reading this letter and nobody's ever going to read that letter. So the way I teach it is 1 page, one-sided, 2 pictures, some good captions, and 1 story. And if you can keep your update letters simple, they're going to get read. And I hear that from my own failing. I used to, when I started ministry, I wrote a front and back update letter, Bob. And I only had a couple partners on my team at the time. And they were business guys. And I just said, hey, how are my update letters? Like, give me feedback. One of them was like, I don't ever read it. I was like, okay, that's not good. And the other one was like, it's too much. Like, give me 1 page, give me 2 pictures, give me some captions. So I know I've got to keep it under 350 words. And so then I changed it up. I simplified it. Like, the front was ministry stuff and the back was like things God's teaching me in the Bible. Nobody cared about the second part, right?
Yeah.
So, but once I did it 1 page, one-sided, then I sent it to them and then I asked for feedback again. And he goes, it's awesome. I can read it in less than 5 minutes and I feel connected to what you're doing. The other thing you need to not do is not be asking for money all the time.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
One person that teaches this, I don't remember who, said you need to be, maybe every like 5th time you communicate, it could be about money. So update letter, update letter, update letter, update letter, ask. And the way I have it in the 1-pager that you can download is do the update letter all year and then do a year-end ask letter. So you could ask that once a year for extra,
Right. I love that. Make sure that you're receiving the newsletter from everyone you're leading. That's really helpful. I think this was the late 80s, back when there was no email newsletters. It was a paper newsletter. But I remember actually seeing one that the person had drawn like a little pond and had shark fins coming out, like sharks were circling. And they were saying that, that they were in financial need and the sharks were circling. This was their donor letter. It's like, no. So yes, definitely be on the mailing list of people you're leading. I think that can be really helpful. I think too, I used to try to figure out the perfect formula for the newsletter. And I think honestly, donors are different. And so some people, even if you have the perfect newsletter, they're not going to look at it. You have to you have to figure out what is their, we talk about love languages. What's your communication language? Is it a 1-minute video? Is it the newsletter? Is it a phone call? And you figure out what it is for each person and try to deliver on that. And if you're putting in 10% of your time, you have time to do that. And you'll be doing it really well and building a very strong team. And so I think we have to avoid just the laziness of, one size fits all communication plans, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Scott, you were going to say something?
Well, talking about getting the newsletters of those that you oversee and lead. I do. I think that's one of the things that's like a requirement. If you're going to be someone to oversee, is I want to be on your newsletter. One, just to see what you're saying and how to pray for you, because you go probably tell them things you maybe don't tell me. It shouldn't be that way. But do y'all ever ask for a review of the newsletters before they go out? Or is that being too micromanaging? Or would you do that maybe with the few that have had a bad send out or a bad newsletter and you're like, hey, let me coach you a little bit and develop you before your next one? What's the balance on that? Or do you just always deal with it after the fact?
That's personal preference and how much time you have. Like, if you have time to get everybody's letter ahead of time and then coach them, go for it. I don't necessarily have time for that, but the good thing is you can track patterns, right? So if you get 2 of them in a row that have like the same problem, then it's like, okay, I need to address this before the next one goes out. But like, if it's a one-off and like, it was a little long and it's not the best, like not super worried about. But if 2 in a row is like 1,500 words, they're like writing an essay. It's like, no, we need to address that now. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
So
great.
is there a, is there an overriding theme or message or that you want to communicate with donors? Is it, we've talked about not communicating a need too much. What other things might we want to focus on?
This kind of goes back to something you said earlier, but I think the most important thing is gratitude. Every time I talk to a partner or I send a letter, I say it in one way or another, like thank you, right?
Yeah.
64% of partners stop giving because they think the missionary is ungrateful or they've lost touch. So don't be that guy.
Yeah.
And the painful story that I experienced was I had a $1,000 a month partner. Keyword had. And he would send a check, FedEx, overnighted, $6,000 at a time. But he was sending it from another country. So it got in. I got the thing, opened the FedEx. I'm like, God, thank you. This is so awesome. Told all my friends. His assistant had to email me and say, hey, did you get the money? And I responded like, yeah, thank you so much. A few months later, I get a letter in the mail from him, and it's a rebuke letter.
Wow.
And he compares me to the lepers that got healed by Jesus, and only one went and said thank you and said, we're going to start giving other places.
Ouch.
And guys, my heart went to the floor. Like guilt, shame. And I immediately wrote back a letter and mailed it to him in another country and just repented and apologized. Like, you're right, I should have. So I was thankful to God. I told others about it, but I didn't thank him.
Yeah.
Like the line that we say, which is an old school line, but thank before you bank. Like when you get the thing, say thank you, you know?
Yeah.
Think about if you sent a $6,000 check to somebody and you didn't hear back from them. Like,
yeah,
so.
for sure. That's good. As we kind of start bringing things a little bit to a close here, I just a couple more questions for you. I'm thinking about the idea of leading people into strength and a healthy position. And so how much of the leadership conversation, I mean, how frequently do you need to be checking in with staff you're leading about their support? You know, what would be a good rhythm?
Well, there's two options. So organizationally, if organizationally you can see their money, like just see the bottom line dollar every month and their fund,
right?
That would be preferable to me. Because then you can just eye it once a month for 3 minutes.
That's how I always had it.
Boom, 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 boom. That would be genius. But then I would do a quarterly or semi-annual touch with them where it's, I don't know how you do your, leadership meetings with your staff, but check in with them every quarter or twice a year. And one of the questions is, how's your support going? You already have their numbers. And then how's your heart related to it? And you check on that enough, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about how we form habits. The way we start something is important. We kind of tend to carry on with those. And so I'm thinking about how we lead younger workers who have never really learned to have a healthy donor relationships. How do we help them build these habits early on?
It depends on the organization, but if they haven't been trained in partner development, I can, with no hesitation, say, take my course.
Yeah,
freetobefunded.com, because it's going to give you the biblical basis. It's going to give you the practicals, and your heart's going to be healthy. And then you're going to know how to build your team and maintain your team. And I think it's probably like 6 hours of recorded video material with different practice things you do that'll get them ready. So it's not going to take them forever to get ready, but I think it'll just free their hearts to get afraid of the fear. And then, like you're saying, develop those healthy habits.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
guys, it's been a good episode. I feel like leaders will be encouraged by what you've shared. So thank you for your time. I'm thinking about Chris's course, Free to Be Funded, and really what I appreciate about it is that it deals with heart issues. Certainly it lays out all the practicals and the biblical conviction, but what I've seen over the last half dozen years is that most support problems tie back to a heart issue. And so I love the fact that, Chris, that your course really addresses heart issues as well. I think that'll be super helpful.
Yep. And I think, I first went through my support raising training with my org in 2001. And later on, 6 years later, 2007, I was doing a different thing, and I went to a different training. And I was kind of like, oh, I think I know what I'm doing. And then, wow, I go, okay, wow, I hadn't thought about it. Or, yeah, I was a rookie then, but now I'm seeing it through eyes of 6 years of experience. And, I think it's probably wise every, you pick the time frame, 5 years, 6 years or something, to go back and get refreshed. You'll see things through eyes. There may be new ways of thinking things that are coming out in partner development. So I would encourage people to consider the class, even if you've had training before. And I know Chris's course, I think in 10 years, you've helped people raise a total of $15 million. So clearly it's working. So I just encourage people, again, to check out the course and the website.
Yeah, and I think it's not just encouraging the people that you're leading to do it, but taking it yourself, because it's going to really equip you to lead them better. So, and that's really what we're trying to do here with the podcast, is equip leaders to lead their people better. And so with that, Chris, I'm going to throw a final question to you of if you wanted leaders to take one thing away about how they could lead their people well in being fully funded and developing a strong partner team, what would that be?
I think one is you can do this. Like, as a leader, I've made it as simple as possible for you in the one pager that you can download it, help take your team through that. That's practical, right? But at a heart level, don't settle for the surface answers when you ask your team members, how's partner development going? Or what are you afraid of? Like, ask a couple more questions to get to the root of the issue. And when you get to the root of it, there's some uncomfortable emotion they're feeling that they don't want to be feeling, and they're probably trying to push through. And it's gotten them probably as far as it can get them. But if you can remove that obstacle, that hindrance that's in their heart, that big rock, it's going to make that path smoother for them. They're probably going to raise more money. They're probably going to have more joy doing it. And they're probably going to bring God more glory, because you took the time to invest in their heart. So that's what I would say.
That's really good. Asking those heart-related questions, not just the surface ones. I love that. Well, friends, this has been an episode of the Field Leaders Podcast, a member of the Missio Nexus Podcast Network. And leaders, I want to remind you, you are not alone. We're here to help you learn, grow, connect, and collaborate. God bless.
Daddy.